The USA had developed a locust hybrid. As a military weapon, mutated locusts reproduced quickly and had a long lifespan. They were not scared of any insecticide, even attacking humans. But the unexpected had happened because of errors in operation. Locusts escaped from the laboratory, causing a disaster that affected the world. The story happened in a laboratory in America. A girl was about to bring food into the lab for the locusts which had just been developed. She thought these locusts were not in any way dangerous to her. So, she did not wear protective clothing. Consequently, as soon as she entered the lab, she immediately found out that these locusts were not normal. They did not just gnaw food, but also gnawing on the girl. These newly developed locusts seemed to eat meat as well. The girl was quickly surrounded by the swarm of locusts. Fortunately, the staff promptly came in to save her. It turned out these locusts were all developed by a famous biologist, Peter. After accepting the offer from the military, he had merged genes of two species of locusts together to develop a locust hybrid. This locust had extremely high attack power. Not only was it resistant to insecticides, but it also had a long lifespan and reproduced fast. On the other hand, our heroine, Maddie, recently took office as Secretary of the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Her career was growing, but busy work seriously destroyed the relationship between her and her boyfriend, Dan. While their relationship was in danger, her subordinate informed her about the locust hybrid. After going to the laboratory, she immediately realized the danger of this locust hybrid. Feeling the idea of nurturing locusts into army weapon of Peter was too dangerous. To prevent a disaster from forming, she called an insecticide officer. Wearing heavy protective gear, he used flamethrowers to burn all locusts. Unexpectedly, his officer had already been bribed by the military. During the destruction, he stole some locusts, putting them in the box, taking them out of the lab. However, while he was changing clothes, suddenly the box containing locusts fell. 2 locusts also fell into the sewer. Soon after, they flew into the city from the manhole. He did not notice the 2 locusts had escaped, nor reported the incident to the military. It wasn't long before he reached the airbase, delivering the other locusts to the officer. But during transportation, the soldiers encountered the attack of 2 escaped locusts. Unfortunately, he dropped the box containing the mutant locusts to the ground. At that moment, it was crushed under the army truck, so the 2 locusts converged with the other 2, escaping into the air. At another scene, Maddie still thought that they had burnt all mutant locusts, so she was returning home. However, her boyfriend, Dan, was extremely dissatisfied with her. His girlfriend clearly did the same job as him, considering home as a hotel, always busy at work. Basically, she did not care about their relationship. While Maddie and Dan were arguing, Maddie received a call from the Ministry of Agriculture. She had to go on a business trip. She had to arrange her luggage to set out. Half a month had passed in the blink. 2 mutant locusts quickly reproduced into a great number. They flied into the air, making the sky completely black, which could not be controlled. They quickly attacked a vineyard. Seeing the whole sky full of locusts, people had to run into the wilderness. Just moments later, the vineyard was completely eaten by these locusts. Then the swarm of locusts flew into the city. Meanwhile, the unemployed Peter started to stay at home, taking care of his daughter. After he put his daughter in the school bus, he was about to go to the shopping mall. But on the way, Peter saw nearby wild fields were full of locusts. See the attacking strength of these locusts. He started to panic. Immediately he saw a large swarm of locusts attacking towards the direction of his daughter's school bus. The attacking strength of these locusts was unusually ferocious, gradually smashing the glass door and bursting into the car. The students in the car screamed in fear, evading the locusts' attacks, immediately turning into chaos. Peter's daughter accidentally slipped and fainted. Peter quickly ran to use a fire extinguisher to kill the locusts, having saved his daughter. But when he carefully looked at the locusts on the floor, he realized these locusts were the product of his experiment. Maddie received news, so she quickly went to the vineyard. Realizing the seriousness of the problem, she quickly contacted the Ministry of Agriculture to tackle locusts. They devised many methods to deal with locusts. An example was using an aircraft spraying insecticide, attacking with smoke or fire, even raising the alarm to the whole country about locusts. However, these methods had no effect on mutant locusts. They gnawed ceaselessly, reproduced quickly. Wherever they went, the trees and grass were stripped off altogether. At that time, Peter called Maddie, show his willingness to go to battle, to join the team to destroy locusts. After thinking carefully, Maddie agreed to his request. At the same time, on the way, she discovered a farm holding a citrus festival. She proved her identity to prepare to evacuate people before the locusts came. Unfortunately, while evacuating, huge numbers of locusts had already flocked. The staff of the farm sprayed a lot of insecticides, but it didn't work. Maddie also realized these locusts were the product of Peter's experiment. Meanwhile, the locusts split into 2 lines, one attacking the center of the city. Not a single species of plants was left out where they flew. Even humans had encountered attacks. An office building was also surrounded by a large number of locusts. Facing an intense wave of locusts, the building's tempered glass also became extremely weak. They passed through the building's ventilation pipes, flying inside, starting to attack humans. Humans were inherently extremely busy, also having to let go of their work to start to counterattack. The scariest thing was, large numbers of locusts in the air interfered with the aircraft. A cargo plane which had just taken off hit the locust army. An engine malfunction immediately occurred. Falling to the ground, the aircraft exploded. This incident led to widespread concern across the country. The president ordered the establishment of an interdisciplinary team to destroy locusts. They turned to the insect specialist, Maddie, United Nations agricultural specialist, Dan, together with locust researcher, Peter. During the meeting, Maddie talked about the origin of the locusts, reporting all to the superiors. Besides, she also demonstrated that this time the locusts had divided into 2 paths. If the locusts converged in the central area, They would probably find the grains they like to eat the most. This would increase the reproduction rate of locusts. But Dan made a suggestion: to reduce the loss, they must let the farms harvest their crops before catching a fire. But this suggestion would cause incredible losses for the nation. Everyone just had to think about other methods. Right at this moment, bad news was coming. It turned out the locusts had changed directions, attacking a livestock farm. All animals inside were wiped clean. Then, that meant, the mutant locusts had become a species of carnivorous insect. If the plants on the earth were all eaten by the locusts, then their next target would be humans. Then the army suggested a newly developed toxic gas, BX, to kill locusts, but because this toxic gas technology was still incomplete, and the damage force was extremely large, perhaps it would affect people, so Maddie wanted to convince the army to cancel this plan. But the president had agreed with this plan. While seeing the army preparing the toxic gas, Bellum spread the news to the media, so that the army had to face public criticisms for a while, and then had to cancel the mission. Maddie, Dan and Peter as well. Together they went to the father's house, which could be attacked. Unfortunately, it was still one step late. The swarm of locusts had already come. They could only hide in a barn made of iron. Maddie found out that unless the food was eaten up, the locusts would not leave. She thought that they could power the barn, then use electric shock to kill these locusts. Everyone felt that until then, they could only try this method. They were about to use a generator to power this iron barn. But right at this critical moment, the generator was running out of fuel. Peter had to pay for his mistake. He actively volunteered to storm out to get the fuel. Luckily, Peter brought a barrel of oil even at the cost of his life. Because the injury was too serious, he died. The generator finally finished supplying power, instantly killing a large number of locusts. Finding this method effective, Maddie immediately notified her superiors. This method received the support of many government officers. After discussion, they found out the best place to ambush locusts. There were 2 high-voltage power lines, so they prepared all the necessary items to switch the entire power supply to these 2 high-voltage power lines, waiting for the locusts to fly, then killing them all. Soon after, the locusts flocked. After experiencing this disaster, Maddie and Dan were reconciled. The movie also ends here. 2020 is a year full of troubles. But fortunately we still get through the tough time, welcoming a new year 2021. Goodbye, see you in the next episode.